Hello, everyone. Welcome to Nails and Beauty Talk. I am your host, Asia the Bird. To have a very special guest with me today, she is a nail artist and educator. Please welcome Julita Fagan. Hello, Julita, and welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you so much for having me, Asia. Very, very happy to be here.
Yes, absolutely glad to have you. So I definitely want to go ahead and get started by asking, tell us where you're from and tell us a little about your childhood, how you grew up.
Well, I'm originally from the Cayman Islands. I'm half Jamaican as well. I'm 38 years old, so I'm getting up there. I said 38 years young is what I like to say.
Right.
So growing up, grew up in a literally small island. I don't know if anyone knows much about the Cayman Islands, literally a dot on the map. But it's very much your tourist destination. So I grew up in all the sunshine. So growing up as a child, it was very much literally very different to what I think the childhood that kids have now. I was playing in the dirt. I was I was outside, so yeah, I was very much someone that was always active and always
Right.
involved in something growing up. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, that's really, really cool. But I definitely want to go ahead and, ask this question. Like, what is like your earliest memories in regards to beauty? Like, was there anyone in your family that was into beauty? What are like
Yeah.
some of your earliest memories?
Well, funny enough, my mom. So my mom, she's someone, and it's so funny because it feels sometimes like I'm turning into her in some way. I can see it happening because she always did wear many hats when I was growing up, and I'm kind of now the same. So when I
Right.
was younger, I do remember maybe even in my early ages, as far as maybe even 6 or 7. And my mom had just started a salon, and
Right.
she was doing hair. So hair was her thing
Hmm.
back then. And my older sister, she wasn't very interested at all, but I was always the one that was wanting to go to the salon and just wanting to
Hmm.
hand her the curlers, just
Right.
wanting to be involved in some way.
Right.
So that I would say is probably my earliest memory of
Hmm.
any type of beauty is my mom.
Hmm.
Yeah.
That's really, really awesome. But I definitely want to go ahead and ask, like, so you're originally from the Caribbean, like how you said before, you're
Yes.
from the
Yes.
Cayman Islands, you're half Jamaican. But I definitely want to ask, like, this very interesting question. Have you noticed any differences possibly between like beauty in the Cayman Islands versus here in the UK, possibly?
Yeah, in some ways, I would say that definitely changed a lot. Even my mentality around
Hmm.
beauty, as far as even makeup or nails, changed a lot when I
Right.
moved here. I
Hmm.
was always someone prior to getting involved in nails. Makeup artistry was my first creative love. So I used to do makeup as well when I was back home, and this is when I was very much into my corporate role, as I do come from a
Hmm.
corporate background. And I, of course, was always in Mac. Mac was the it thing a few years
Right.
ago. That's the place to be. And I remember, going into Mac, and the girls always loved my makeup and would be interested, like, oh my God, why don't you come and work for Mac? But in my
Right.
mind, it was like, why would I go and work for Mac? That was the mentality
Right.
where I was
Right.
growing up on a small island, because when
Hmm.
you come from a place where it's a finance sector, so when you're in school, your ambitions or your drive is to leave and get a good job, an
Right.
office job, so it was
Hmm.
kind of in my mind, like,
Exactly.
why would I give up on that to do
Hmm.
something else? But
Hmm.
moving over to somewhere like London, and I really came here with the whole mindset, which I'm sure a lot of people do, like, oh, it's the land of opportunity, my dreams can come true. I came with that
Right.
that in mind, so I had a more
Right.
broadened mind when I came here.
Right.
And it's a completely different thing. I think it's definitely you're allowed to kind of embrace your
Hmm.
creativity more here than you do back home.
Hmm. Yeah, right, exactly. I would like to talk about your business called Buff Her Nails UK.
Yes.
So, what has been the journey like starting your own nail business and plus having your own nail business? Was there any obstacles that you overcame, with having your own business?
Yeah, well, I mean, for me, when I started my business, I literally tell everyone this, and it's so funny because I started nails on a whim. Like, it was just kind of, I had no intentions. And I'd had my
Mhm,
very first gel certification for about maybe 3 years at that point. But again,
mhm.
when I
Right,
did my course, which did encompass everything, so that was makeup, hair, and nails. Makeup
right,
was my focus at that time. So
right.
again, I was still a bit small minded. I'd left home, but I brought some of it with me. That kind of way. In
Right.
some way, it was like, I don't want to do nails. Why would I do nails?
Mhm,
And I would say that when I threw myself into the corporate world, again after leaving Mac, I threw myself into the corporate scene full time, being my first corporate role here.
right.
And I felt like I had no work life balance. I had no balance, working in the city. By the time I got home, it
Mhm,
was late.
mhm.
So I was able within the company that I was with to cut back to a part time role. So, in essence, what
Right.
that meant is that I wanted to fill my free time I had to with something else, you know.
Right.
So yeah, it was just really my going to the nail shop, just like your typical high street shop, which was the norm prior to COVID. Everyone just kind of went out like your local shop to get your nails
Right.
done.
Hmm.
And I think I just grew frustrated with not getting what I wanted. And I
Hmm.
also grew a bit envious because I was seeing people on the train everywhere with these Instagram nails, is what we called them back then. And I was like, where are these people going?
Hmm.
Where are they going to get these things done, you know?
Right.
So yeah, so when I first threw myself into it, it was really under the mindset of doing myself. And
Hmm.
through the same instances of going out and people started asking, you know, where did you get your nails done? That is how I thought, like, okay, I see a few dollar signs floating around in my mind now. Maybe this is something that I can invest in. So yeah, I was still working a corporate role at that time and just kind
Right.
of threw myself into it. As far as any difficulties that I found along the way, I think again one of the greatest difficulties I had was myself.
Hmm.
Really in battling with my own imposter syndrome and in my own need for perfection at every stage. You know, even at day one, I wanted to be perfect, which we know is impossible. I could barely hold the brush. It was it was not a good start, you know.
Right.
So yeah, I think once I allowed myself to take my time and to be steady and purposeful with what I was doing with my business, that is when I started to find my rhythm and started to fall into a steady
Hmm.
pattern and see steady growth at that point.
Hmm. Yeah, absolutely. But to add on to that in regards to perfection, like I'm kind of the same way because I want stuff to be perfect and in order and things like that.
Yes.
And eventually you got to accept like there's no such thing as perfection.
No.
You're going to mess up.
You're gonna mess up. And I'm sure you've had instances as well as a creative where sometimes you look at something. I battle with, even now I battle with myself, you know, with
Right.
creating some content and I don't like it for some the minuscule reason I don't like it. But
Hmm.
whereas, you know, maybe a year ago I would never post it because I don't like it. But
Right.
sometimes I've tested this and sometimes the ones that I don't like tend to
Hmm.
be the ones that do the best, you know, that kind of way.
Hmm.
So I've learned that
Right.
sometimes we just have to be able to separate our thoughts and realize that our thoughts aren't always fact.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's perfect to someone else. That's all
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
matters, really.
Yeah, absolutely. But I definitely want to move forward and talk about your one-on-one nail course. So you offer different types of nail course, such as like gel extensions, tailored one-on-one training, and no filing application. So what other courses do you offer and what goes into some of the courses that you offer as well?
Well, one-to-one training is something that I kind of dipped my toe into. I do
Hmm.
have my professional educator's qualification. The next
Hmm.
step for me is to provide accredited courses, as I
Hmm.
do realize, and I realized this very quickly, that teaching is something that I enjoy. You know, and this is even from my MAP days. I do love to teach. I love to share my knowledge with other people. So that is going to be the major step for me moving forward as far as introducing that, to be able to accredit people so that when they leave a course with me, they can then go straight there and get a job somewhere if they so please. You know, they've
Right.
completely trained professionally with me. Now,
Hmm.
as far as what my trainings did encompass, so I have paused on those at the moment at the start of this year, just to
Hmm.
make sure that when I restart again, that I'm doing it the way that I want to.
Right.
But as far as what the courses will entail, you know, I want to cover everything. I want to start
Right.
from your very beginner. I want a beginner to be able to come and learn with me. Whereas
Hmm.
one-to-one trainings, as we know, are usually geared towards artists that are already certified. You know,
Right.
so that would be the major difference. I want to be able to, yeah, want someone to
Hmm.
have a certificate with Buff Her Nails UK in it.
Yeah, yeah, that's really, really cool. I definitely want to go ahead and talk about like a prey. So you recommend a prey for those who are, in fast growth stages with their nails and, but in your perspective, and I find it very interesting because a prey is the popular brand that
Yes,
everybody's going to, especially for nail services, nail art, and
the
things like
art,
that.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So in your perspective, what makes a prey so unique to you for application?
For me, it definitely has always had a warm place in my heart. And the reason that I say
Mhm.
that is Apres is actually the very first system that I started with when I started
Wow.
my journey. So that was what started the journey because I bought it for myself. I bought it, was
Mhm,
like, oh, it just came across Instagram one day. I'd never seen it, never heard of it. And I think
mhm,
this was around like the 2019
mhm,
area, the end of there. And I don't think it was even widely known in London. I did some
mm,
research back then, and I think it was like maybe one salon that was offering it. So it's a new system, but I think that what the beauty of Prey is, for instance, in comparison to acrylic, right? And again,
Mm-hmm.
acrylic is something that I did at that
Mm-hmm.
time as well. And I
Right.
found over a period of time, everyone's association with nails and in specific acrylic had
Right.
changed. If you think about it, like in the 2019 era, if
Mm-hmm.
ombre 2018 19 an ombre was the in. If you didn't have an ombre, you weren't saying what was a French. No one wanted a French. That was for old ladies. Remember, we used to think that was no one wanted a
Yeah, the
French.
ombre was hot back then.
Yes, ombre was hot. If you didn't have a,
Yeah.
or even if you did a French, if it wasn't an acrylic French, like all
Right.
acrylic, it was like, So when I
Mm-hmm.
think my mindset around Apres I started to gravitate more towards that is when gel-based designs became more popular. So
Mm-hmm.
I found that I was spending a great deal of time building a set of acrylic nails, and then now I have to paint on top of that. Whereas with Apres Gel X, there's a speed difference that you're going to find,
Mm-hmm.
as with practice and with skill that you're learning along the way, you can quickly get these tips on the nails within a matter of minutes, and then
Right.
you're on to your art. And we all know money
Mm-hmm.
is time is money, so
Right. Mm,
the quicker you
absolutely.
get through with one client is the
Mm-hmm.
possibility that you can squeeze one more in for that day.
Mm-hmm.
But a Pray is an amazing system. Again, it allows my clients the freedom to grow their nails, because
Right.
in essence, what it really is, it's a safe system. It's a safe extension system that's gel based.
Mm-hmm.
I particularly like to describe it as a set of press-on nails that don't come off unless you soak them off. That's the best way to explain it to a beginner, because it's really what it
Mm-hmm.
is. It's like a shell for the
Mm-hmm.
nail. Yeah, so I just think it's really, really amazing for people trying to grow their nails, for nail biters as well,
Mm-hmm.
because this allows them to tuck those nails away, especially my nail biters. I
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't, they wouldn't get far without it. I've transformed nails. I've transformed hands in like 3 appointments. I've had my nail
Right.
biters have finally seeing some white for the first
Mhm.
time in months. And over time, what you find is with even your nail biters that they become proud. They become
Mhm.
proud of the fact that, oh, these are mine. And someone is asking me, this is mine. So
Mhm.
yeah, it just allows them, I think, to tuck those nails away, not have to
Right.
see
Mhm.
any growth to you know trouble it to eat it.
Right.
Yeah, so yeah, it's an amazing system overall, I would say.
Yeah, I would agree because like I recently bought specifically the Prey Gel X gel
Love.
colors. That one coat of color, whoo.
It's amazing. I mean, I've
Yeah, it's
not tried their
amazing.
gel colors yet, but I'm so wanting to. I've seen them. They look absolutely amazing. And that one coat, I believe it. Trust me. And myself, I know there's so many systems offered now. I can only speak of a Prey. That's the only
Mhm.
system I've ever tried of them. But yeah, there's so many to choose
Yeah.
from now. It's definitely a popular range.
Yeah, yeah. I think I find it very interesting about a Prey because I think they're the ones that led the charge with regards with the gel tips. Now
Yes,
everybody
yes.
is doing it.
Exactly. So I think
Mhm.
them being the leading ones, I've just always stuck to them. Not that I would never try another brand, but I think that's a lot of my personality as well. I struggle to even try different brushes. I'm so horrible, like creature of habit.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, with me, I just try like a wide range until I get to like the right
The
brush.
right one,
Yeah,
yes,
yeah.
yes. But then I bet after you find the right one, then why look at it further, right? So that's my
Yeah, yeah.
struggle.
Yeah, yeah, right, exactly. But I definitely want to get into in regards to other brands. Speaking of, because you use the gel bottle and also biosculpture.
Yeah.
So if you had to choose one brand, which would it be? Like a Prey,
Oh,
biosculpture, or the gel bottle?
that would be a hard one. That is it's hard. It's really hard because they all serve such different purposes.
Hmm.
I would say this in comparison. Then, if we take biosculpture and place that side by
Hmm.
side with the gel bottle, for
Right.
instance, they're two very similar systems.
Hmm.
Um, the biosculpture is that's something that I've recently trained in, so it's quite new to me.
Okay.
But having tested the products myself now, I can see why they are known to be the leading gel brand. If I
Hmm.
recall correctly, they were the first
Hmm.
gel brand, and they
Hmm.
have been around for the past 35 years.
Right.
It speaks in their product. It speaks in the
Hmm.
quality, the presentation, and just overall ease of their product, right?
Hmm.
But what I would say about biosculpture is it's quite commonly used for your plain nail aesthetic.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Right.
You'll see a
Mm-hmm.
lot. It's not your more artsy system that I
Right.
would say. I think they're
Mm-hmm.
now making a change towards that, which is
Right.
amazing. But that's the aesthetic, right? It's
Mm-hmm.
very luxurious. Whereas
Mm-hmm.
the gel bottle now, again with Biab, which I also equally love, similar application process, but again, just different
Mm-hmm.
systems, different uses, different means of art. So they
Right.
got gel bottle being a bit more on the artsy side of things, right?
Exactly.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
in a prayer, I think that just covers it all. So it's hard for me to choose,
Mm-hmm.
but if I had to choose one at this point in time, at this point in my career and where I think my passion is leading to, I would say biosculpture is at the top of my list.
Mm-hmm. Now, regards to nail art, how can you describe like your nail art style? How do you like to do nail art?
Oh gosh, I'm all over the place, That my page says it. I do everything. I love the most minimal and intricate design, the little tiny details to the most elaborate and colorful ones. It really
Mm-hmm.
depends on the mood that I wake up in
Mm-hmm.
that day, the weather. Maybe if it's sunny outside, I'll feel like I want to paint some color, So if you see a lot of monotone stuff going on, it's a little
Right.
gray outside. But yeah, I literally pull inspiration from
Mm-hmm.
so many areas. I could see a piece of fabric. I could
Mm-hmm.
be walking outside and just glimpse something. And I'm highly inspired by other nail
Right.
artists as well. And I think that
Exactly.
that's a bulk of where a lot of our inspirations come from now, just finding ways to
Mm-hmm.
elevate an already existing design.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Now, if you had a top five in regards to your favorite nail artists, who would they be and why?
All right. So I would say that my top five, definitely we're going to start with Matea Nova. I'm not sure if you're familiar with her on Instagram. She's
Mm-hmm.
very much known for her clean girl aesthetic. She's very much your simple nude. She has amazing nail beds, amazing hands. So she visually, it's always appealing to see her work, and it's
Mm-hmm.
definitely a work style that I aspire. Painted by Jules, I would say, is one and the same as far as her
Mm-hmm.
clean girl aesthetic. They're definitely where you're going to find, or where I'm going to find my most minimal sets if I'm looking for that type of
Mm-hmm.
inspiration. Taking a leap on from that, Bettina Goldstein. She is also quite
Mm-hmm.
clean, natural nails, but
Mm-hmm.
her art, her detail, she's very much someone who taps into realistic art. She will
Mm-hmm.
draw, like I saw she did a nail the other day with like a drawing a mackerel, but it literally looked like a real mackerel fish. It was so cool. All right. Clawgasmic.
Mm-hmm.
Love Clawgasmic. Oh, this is my girl. She's amazing. I always tell her swirls are absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah,
She does them
Chantel.
so, yeah, she just does them so beautifully, so easily. All right, just
Mm-hmm.
dream. And her nail beds. Oh, so yeah,
Mm-hmm.
anytime I'm looking for like any type of art, swirly, colorful, cute, Clawgasmic is someone I'm going to look towards. And then lastly, I would say on my list, I'm going to put Joha Nails.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure if you're familiar with her. She's
Mm-hmm.
quite known. She was quite known back in the day for her acrylic sets, but she's
Mm-hmm.
also now very gel based. But she is going to give you that perfect shape, that perfect precision. Just
Mm-hmm.
beautiful. So I would say those five are some of the top Instagram accounts that I love to see scrolling on my page.
Yeah, yeah, really, really cool. That's really, really cool. Yeah, I love Chantel. I like some of her work, and Painted by Jules. I've heard of her. Some of her work is
Yeah,
very
she's amazing.
phenomenal. Also Alice McNails. I don't know if you heard of her, but she does really cool nail art.
Really? Oh, I need to check her out. See, there's so many talented
Yeah,
nail
yeah.
artists. So many. There's so like that's what I'm saying. You can draw inspiration from so many. And it's so good to see,
Right.
you know?
Yeah, absolutely. But I definitely want to go ahead and switch gears and talk about with your time living in the UK and with all your experience being in the nail industry, what's your perspective in terms of just how the nail industry has evolved and what would you like to see more of?
Well, since starting, again, I started my journey at the brink of the pandemic. So really, I started at the end of 2019 with no clients. So I would say, did I really start then? I don't know. Maybe 2020 was the start. But I remember when I started, there was definitely a stigma around
Hmm.
nails, and it's something that has changed drastically since we have
Hmm.
come out of the lockdown period, and it's something
Right.
that's been beautiful to see. And what that stigma is that of all the beauty services that
Hmm.
people go and receive, for some reason there was this mentality of not wanting to pay a certain amount for nails. It had to
Hmm.
be like, you know, they're used to paying the most minimal, used to the local shop, you
Right.
know, which in essence, you
Mm.
really pay for what you get. And the
Right.
truth is, even myself, and I'm sure you can remember this too, on prior to becoming a nail artist and going to the nail salon, when we
Mm.
think back on the quality of that service, it really wasn't there. Nails were like,
Mm.
you were kind of ushered in and out, you know, like robots to get your nails done. There was no
Right.
interaction, you know, there was
Mm.
no conversation, you know, it
Mm.
was just,
Right.
yeah,
Exactly.
kind of like a certain, so there was that
Mm.
idea that I'm not paying more than a certain amount for nails. And now I think during the lockdown, this gave so many people, so many just everyday people like myself, the
Mm.
time to practice and to try something new. We couldn't get our
Right.
nails done, so we had to try it ourselves, right? And
Mm.
I think then we have separated ourselves from your typical nail shop experience, because now
Mm.
our art is more driven by passion as opposed
Right.
to, you get what I mean, to income.
Mm.
But in saying that, what has been amazing to see, especially I think over the past year and a half, is there's
Mm.
starting to be that side by side comparison of the two now, where skill set is getting the respect and the pay that it
Right.
deserves. You get what I mean?
Absolutely.
So that is something
Mm.
that's been beautiful to see, that people now are willing to pay for a certain experience,
Mm.
pay for, you know, if you're going to sit with someone for 4 hours and get a set of nails that you love, people are no longer one complaining about waiting that long.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, you know, it's
Yeah.
known now that you're going to sit down for a few hours to get your nails done, depending on what you're doing. So it's just that respect that I'm
Mm.
happily seeing, and I hope to continue to see. And I hope to
Mm.
continue to see more nail artists, both older and newer, coming into the industry without the mindset that they have to sell themselves cheap
Mm.
to grow. You know, you
Mm.
start as you wish to continue, I believe. And it's beautiful to see that that's finally happening in the
Mm.
industry.
Yeah, definitely. But to add on to that, like there's so many products that's out now that's like taking a step
Yes,
further, being innovative, and so
yes.
much stuff you can play with. I remember like 10 or so years ago, there was like the crackle polish, and
That was it.
like nail art, is taken to a new high. Nowadays, like I got
Definitely.
inspired by like the ones who were competing, like Sam Biddle, Viv Simmons, Catherine Wong. They
Mm-hmm.
were the top nail competitors in the
Yes.
world.
And
Really
everyone's
pushing.
aspiring for that now as well.
Yeah, yeah,
And the beauty of that is now is that, whereas when you think of the nail industry a few years ago, or seeing amazing artists like them, it almost felt unreachable, didn't it? It felt
right.
like
Yeah.
this was just wow, like ooh. But now it's kind of like no. And again, I think as much as we
Mhm.
struggle with social media sometimes, we have to give its flowers, because that's really how a lot of artists, I've seen artists like, for instance, Matea Nova, that
Mhm.
completely blew within less than a year, you know, that kind of way, and
Mhm.
is doing great things now. So yeah, it's just up to one's drive, one's passion. I think you could take
Mhm.
this anywhere as far as you wish, you know?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And nail education is just all over the place
Yeah,
now. There's
everywhere.
so much you can learn.
So there's really no excuse, from your YouTube video to your reels to your
Right.
just you're even finding everyday moms, or just your everyday woman just taking a simple gel course these days, and that's
Mhm.
turning into something more. It started as
Right.
just oh, I just want to polish my nails at home, and now you're doing your friends and family, you know.
Mhm.
So yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, what would you say would be the most rewarding thing, in regards to being a nail artist? What are some things that you've learned throughout the journey?
I think one of the most rewarding things for me is being able to have an avenue to channel my creativity.
Mm.
And I think sometimes we don't know what to expect of something, or the place, a creative element would sorry, the part it would play in our lives, until
Mhm.
we're engrossed in it, if that makes sense.
Right.
Meaning that, whereas a few years ago nails was never a thought of mine, looking at it now, I can't see myself not being involved in some type of nail artistry or nail fun
Right.
in some way.
Mhm.
You know, it's a avenue for me to just think. It's a place where I don't have to
Mhm.
think. You know, it plays a great deal of parts. And for me, as far as, you know, watching it grow, watching myself grow in the industry, it's
Mhm.
just been amazing in that respect. It really
Mhm.
has.
Yeah,
I feel like
absolutely.
I feel like I missed the last bit of that question. Ask me that the last bit of that again. Sorry.
The other part, the other part of the question was, what were some of the things that you've learned, throughout the
Yes.
journey?
Some of the things that I learned is how infectious and how much of a responsibility I too can play in brightening someone's day, and that's something that also is a great factor for me too. That
Mm-hmm.
people coming to you, it's an appointment. It's not just a nail appointment. It's
Right.
a
Mm-hmm.
overall service. That you're
Right.
providing that someone. So
Mm-hmm.
being that light to someone else,
Absolutely.
yeah, I've definitely found that to be most enjoyable in this
Mm-hmm.
process as well.
Yeah, absolutely. That's really, really amazing. But I definitely want to get into just in regards to, this other thing that you have an interest and love for. Not only you have an interest in nails, but also fitness.
Bye.
So how'd you get an interest in returns in regards to fitness? Like how'd you get started with that?
Well, I've always been like fitness has been something that has I've been engrossed in since a child. So growing up back home, I think I was probably around the age of 7. I think I was all island for track and field, all island champion girl for about 2 years. I used to do track meets in Florida, all over the place.
Wow, really?
I also played for my national team for netball. So I traveled and played in the US and all over as well, Barbados, different places. So
Wow.
sports is something that has definitely always been a part of my DNA. And when I say a part of my DNA, I mean it because this comes from my mom. My mom has
Mhm.
trophies upon trophies. She's done it all, netball at the same high levels, big softball, everything.
Wow.
So growing up, that's what I've always been that competitive spirit. I've always had that competitive nature about me
Right.
and that passion. And so I would still likely be playing a sport today if it were not for an injury that I received playing flag football, no doubt. But
No.
so it's a need. So that was where I think gym is probably my outlet where I feel safest now.
Hmm.
And it started just as a means of getting fit, but that
Hmm.
too is something that I find myself being able to offload a lot of energy on. It's a place where I can
Hmm.
go and not think and just yeah,
Hmm.
just keep fit in the process. So I give
Hmm.
thanks. I'm closer to 40 than I am to 30, but I don't look it. So I hope that continues in in the years to come.
Yeah, us as Black folks, we age very gracefully, like the
Yes,
saying. Don't
gracefully. We
crack.
got it. Like, we hope so. Let's not on that one. We hope.
Yeah, yeah, right, exactly. But I think it's very interesting because I think self-care is very, very important.
Mm,
You know what I mean? Is having the
yes, it
ability to
is.
slow down and sometimes take a break and keep yourself in shape, but also have a healthy diet as well.
Exactly.
And that's something I always work on every day is to have a healthy diet, like fruits, vegetables, and have a balance
Exactly.
of
You
things.
need to have a healthy mind as well. And I
Right.
found that when I'm not working out or when I'm not as active as I should be, I'm more
Mm-hmm.
clouded in my brain. I definitely
Mm-hmm.
find that sometimes we don't take into account how much pent up energy we keep within us. That if only it had an outlet, a release, that it could just
Mm-hmm.
make just everyday living a lot
Mm-hmm.
less, manic and stressful.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why I like, with our generation now, within today's age
Mm,
now, mental health is openly talked about a lot more often and there's more awareness
needed.
than how it
Yeah,
was like back then, like 10, 20 or so
exactly.
years ago.
Yeah, and it's needed.
Hmm.
So it's amazing to see because yeah, we all have our moments.
Hmm.
So
Yeah,
yeah, that's
absolutely.
working out is definitely an outlet for me.
Hmm. Yeah, absolutely. But last but not least, where can people find you on social media and how can people support you and your business?
Yes, so you can find me. I'm most active on my Instagram. So that's Buff Her Nails. It's BUFF Her Nails UK. So you can find me there. I'm definitely an active poster. I'm always posting nail step by steps with my reels, just content galore. So you can
Mhm.
keep up with me. And I also showcase every now and then a bit of my personality and a bit of my personal life as well. So yeah, that's the best place to find me. And if any listeners are listening within London itself, you can also find information on how to book me and so forth there.
Yeah, it's really, really great. Well, thank you so much, Julita, for jumping onto the show. Your work is absolutely great.
Oh, thank you
I
so
just
much.
really love like how like simple and clean your work is and very, very minimalistic.
Oh,
I
thank
love
you so
seeing your
much.
reels and you just do like, the jewelry,
My little brush, yes,
Yeah,
yes, I
yeah,
love
yeah,
it.
like just go line by line. Like,
Oh,
I like that,
thank you so much. You're amazing as well.
Yes, thank you so much. This is a great conversation. Thank you.
Oh, it was really good.
Take
All right,
care.
bye. Have a good
Bye
one.
bye. Hello, everyone. Thank you all so much for watching. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel. Be sure to click the bell for notifications. Also, follow me on Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter. Be sure to check out my website, ASIATHABIRD.com, and be on the lookout for more interviews to come very soon. Take care, stay healthy, and stay beautiful. Bye-bye.